Meet Marcus Aurelius, emperor and Stoic philosopher. His private journal, Meditations, still guides millions toward inner peace.
You check your phone. Someone left a comment. It's cruel. Your chest tightens before you even finish reading it. But the real answer to why that comment controls you is far stranger than you think. It has nothing to do with the comment. It has everything to do with a Roman emperor who wrote himself a private diary almost 2,000 years ago, never meaning for anyone to read it, and accidentally created one of the most quietly powerful operating systems for the human mind ever discovered. His name was Marcus Aurelius, and what he figured out in that diary still explains why some people crumble under pressure while others don't. Who he was starts in an unlikely place. Marcus Aurelius was born in 121 CE in Rome, adopted into the imperial family as a teenager, and eventually became emperor in 161 CE. He ruled for nearly 2 decades. During that time, he faced a plague that killed millions, wars on multiple borders, betrayal from a trusted general, and the slow grief of losing several of his own children. He was, by any measure, one of the most powerful men alive. And he was also, privately, one of the most anxious. What he did about that anxiety is the part almost nobody teaches. At night, in a tent on some cold military frontier, Marcus wrote to himself. Not for an audience, not for glory, just notes, reminders, arguments he was having with his own mind. Historians later gathered these fragments into a book called Meditations. It was never meant to be published. It's the equivalent of someone's private journal ending up in bookstores by accident. When his personal writings were pieced together, what emerged wasn't a political manifesto. It was a manual for staying calm while everything falls apart. Where does this way of thinking come from? Marcus didn't invent it. He inherited it. The school of thought is called Stoicism, founded roughly 400 years earlier by a merchant named Zeno of Citium. Zeno lost his ship and his entire cargo in a storm off the coast of Greece. He washed up in Athens with nothing. Instead of collapsing, he wandered into a bookshop, got hooked on philosophy, and eventually started teaching under a painted porch called the Stoa Poikile. That porch gave Stoicism its name. The core idea Zeno taught, and the one Marcus clung to centuries later, is simple to say and brutally hard to live. Some things are within your control. Almost everything else is not. Your reputation, other people's opinions, the weather, disease, even the actions of people you love. None of that is truly yours to command. What is yours is smaller. Your judgments, your choices, your response. When does this matter most? Not in comfortable moments, in crisis. That's exactly why Marcus's version of Stoicism reads less like abstract theory and more like a survival manual written by someone under siege. Because he was under siege, literally, on a military campaign against Germanic tribes when he wrote much of it. Why did this way of thinking spread the way it did? Because it doesn't ask you to feel nothing. That's the biggest misconception people carry into this topic. Stoicism gets mistaken for emotional numbness, for gritting your teeth and pretending pain isn't there. That's not what it teaches. It teaches something closer to sorting.
Here's the mechanism, decoded in plain terms. A modern psychologist named Albert Ellis, working in the 1950s, built an entire school of therapy on almost this exact idea, without initially realizing how directly he was echoing Marcus. Ellis called it rational emotive behavior therapy. His core discovery, later confirmed through decades of clinical study, was that it isn't events that disturb people. It's the judgments people layer on top of events. Lose a job, and the job loss itself is neutral information. The suffering comes from the story attached to it. I am worthless. This will never get better. Everyone will see me as a failure. Strip the story away, and the raw event becomes something you can actually work with. Marcus wrote almost the identical line in Meditations, 17 centuries earlier. He reminded himself again and again that it is not the thing itself that troubles us, but our opinion about the thing. A second name worth knowing here is Pierre Hadot. a 20th-century French philosopher and historian who spent decades studying ancient philosophy schools. Hadot argued something that reframed how modern scholars read meditations entirely. He said, ancient philosophy was never meant to be a set of abstract arguments you memorize. It was meant to be a spiritual exercise, something you practice daily, the same way you'd practice an instrument. Marcus wasn't writing a philosophy textbook, he was doing reps, mental reps, night after night, to keep his mind from breaking under the weight of running an empire during a plague. A third figure, contemporary Stoicism researcher and psychotherapist Donald Robertson, has spent years mapping the direct line between Marcus's private techniques and modern cognitive therapy. Robertson's work shows that several of the specific mental exercises Marcus used, questioning automatic judgments, imagining the worst case calmly in advance, separating what's controllable from what isn't, map almost exactly onto techniques therapists now teach for anxiety and anger management. The emperor, without any clinical training, without a single study or control group, had stumbled onto something that would take psychology nearly 2,000 years to formally rediscover. Here's the counterintuitive twist. You'd expect the most powerful man in the ancient world to feel the least anxious. He had armies. He had wealth beyond imagination. He had, quite literally, the power to end lives with a word. And yet his private notebook reads like someone constantly talking himself down from panic. He reminds himself not to be offended by other people's rudeness. He reminds himself that the people who annoy him are, in his own words, essentially children who don't know better. He reminds himself over and over that death is coming and that this fact should calm him rather than terrify him because it puts small annoyances into proper scale. Power didn't protect him from suffering, it just gave his suffering better costumes. Betrayal from someone he trusted. The deaths of children he loved. Rumors and plots swirling in the capital while he stood on a freezing frontier. None of that is solved by having an army. What solved it, moment to moment, was a mental habit. Ask what is actually in my control right now. Answer honestly. Let the rest go. This is where the mirror turns toward you. You are not commanding legions, you're commanding a phone, a job, a group chat, a set of expectations from people who may never even notice how much space they take up in your head. The comment that ruined your morning, the promotion someone else got, the traffic that made you late. None of it is fundamentally different from what Marcus faced, just smaller in scale and faster in pace. Notifications now arrive every few minutes instead of every few months. The judgments still work the same broken way, though. Something happens. Your mind adds a story. The story, not the event, is what actually hurts. Try the version Marcus used before you scroll again. Ask what part of this is yours to control. Usually it's smaller than it feels. Your response, your next sentence, your next 10 minutes. That's it. That's the whole lever. And it was always the only lever anyone has ever had. He died in 180 CE, likely from plague, on another military campaign, still writing to himself until close to the end. He never intended for strangers 2,000 years later to read his private arguments with his own mind. He just needed a way to stay upright while the world came apart around him. So the next time a cruel comment tightens your chest before you've even finished reading it, remember the emperor in the cold tent, reminding himself that it is never the thing itself. It's the opinion about the thing. Change the opinion. Watch how much of the weight simply disappears.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more.